What's up guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Evan Olbricht and today I'm going to be talking about the best camera settings for surf photography. So first off, the gear that I use. So I have a Canon R5 right here. This is my main workhorse for surf photography. Literally the best camera I've ever used. Perfect for surf photography with a high shutter speed, high quality photos. I have a bunch of prints on my wall right here and behind me, and the prints just look amazing. Like really clear, great details. And like you can crop them a lot too because they're 45 megapixel photos, so they just look amazing. Super happy with the camera. And then I have a 50mm, which is my main lens for doing surf photography, and I have a 24-70 on here, but it's super tough to get a lens port that uses that because with the zoom and everything, but I am trying to do that soon, so we will see. But this is the housing that I use. It doesn't have the lens port on it right now, but this is the back plate where I can change all my settings. And then got the trigger on here as well, which is a huge upgrade from my other one. And you can also shoot right here if you're trying to keep it low to the water. Just really an amazing housing, love Aquatech. And I also usually have a GoPro on top of it, GoPro Hero 11. And then my settings for this is just 4K at 120 for some good slow-mo, and then that just sits right up top and like is really amazing. I get great results from that and great quality videos that I can use for social media or YouTube videos. So super happy with that as well. So let's get right into it. So ISO first. Alrighty, so first off, ISO. So I use D+200, which is highlight tone priority, and this is super important to make sure that your photos are not overexposed. So this is a big problem that I had when I first started shooting surf photography, and had it like up until about a couple months ago, until I found this out from other photographers using it and talking about it. So this makes sure that your photos focuses on the whitewash of the wave. So D+200 basically tells your camera that the light meter should be on that light part, so your photos aren't just like white when the wave crashes and you lose all that detail. So this is super important. I'll throw up a photo right here. This wave is from Black's Beach in San Diego. Huge day, like got a ton of great photos, but this photo, to be honest, was like one of my favorites, but it got ruined because it was highlighted on the back of the wave and it was just way too overexposed, and then I lost all my detail in the back of the wave, and then the front of the wave was way too underexposed, so then you can't even see the surfer's face or his really his body. And then I tried to like do a bunch of different stuff and it just made him all grainy, and in the end I couldn't even really use the photo for anything. So this is super important. I've been doing this recently. Definitely try it out with yourself, and you can definitely mess with it like D+100 or kind of whatever, like that stuff. Kind of just change it however you want and see what works best for you. But I definitely recommend trying that. Really a game changer to my photos. And then for ISO, always keep it like pretty low, like because you don't want to have it at like 2,000, 3,000, or then your photos are just going to be pretty grainy and you can't really do much with them, like print them or anything, because I like having my photos super clear and super sharp. Alright, so for aperture, I like to keep my aperture at f5.6, and I know that the lens that I use is an f1.8, but there is a big difference between the maximum lens aperture and the fastest lens aperture. So I'll throw up a chart right here. It's going to talk a little bit about like the different apertures for the lenses. So like this is the f1.8, so the fastest that you can use is f5.6 for this. And this is super important if you're in the water for surf photography, because maybe you only have a couple seconds to like throw your camera up. If you're in the water and some big waves and stuff, you throw it up and you just click it down and try to hold it to get some photos. And you want it to be sharp as fast as it can be, because you don't want to even take a second or half a second to miss those photos, because maybe that's the only time frame that you have, which usually like is how it is. And this is super important. I've been doing this recently and my photos have been so much better. You really do not want to have it at like an f1.8, because even if the focus is off a tiny bit, maybe it's focused on the front of the board or something like that, then the whole photo behind it is blurry. Or if it's at f5.6 or maybe an f8, if it's a f4, then it's going to look a lot sharper for a bigger area, which is really what you want. Because you don't want it to be like an f1.8 and then the rest of the back is super blurry. You want to see that whole big wave behind the surfer and want the surfer to be like really clear and have great clarity of that photo, because that's really what I look for and makes for great photos and great prints as well. So yeah, that's definitely a big thing for aperture. Alright, so now on a shutter speed. So I usually use 1/1200th for shutter speed. This is kind of a good middle point for any kind of photography that you're doing for like longboarding shooting, or you're in the water and you're trying to get barrel shots. This is usually a good middle ground. And you could also, I usually range from around 1,000 to 2,000, which is usually a good range, or you can even go up a lot more. Obviously depends on the lighting and just every circumstance, so definitely mess around with that. Try to find your perfect spot, but for me, 1/1200th is usually that perfect spot. Yeah. So now we're gonna be talking about when to use manual versus shutter priority versus auto. So right here, I obviously have a back plate, so I do recommend if you have a back plate, shoot manual if you have the chance to, and if the waves aren't too crazy and you can really focus on that, because I do believe that manual gives you the best photos. But sometimes I do throw in shutter priority if it's waves are really big and it's kind of sketchy to be like sitting there changing the settings, or if I'm shooting something like shore break or something super fast paced, and then I'll throw the ISO in kind of an auto, or just make sure it's at a safe range so that I really do not have to worry about the settings, because in reality you really just want to focus on getting a good shot and then make sure it's not overexposed, and that's really how you're going to get the best photos. But do recommend shooting an auto if you do not have a back plate, because sometimes people will, like, I did this before where I put it in manual when I didn't have like this nice back plate and it was just like the glass, and then I'd go out there and then it would get too dark and then all my photos were just underexposed. So hey, sometimes if you need to put an auto or like a sports mode and it does like the settings for you and just make sure that it's a high shutter, then you're gonna be all good. Just have fun with it. Basically that's the biggest thing, and if you want to get better, just keep shooting, kind of figure out what works best for you. And yeah, that's really all I have for the video today. Thanks for watching. Hope this video really helped you out. Yeah, just some tips that I've learned from shooting for a couple years. And yeah, I've been watching a lot of videos like this and they've been super helpful. So I hope this one is helpful for you guys. Comment down below what you learned. Comment if you want to see some other videos next. And yeah, like the video, subscribe, really helps me out, and see you next video.